My name is Liz Hathway, and this is my astrological look at the week ahead. And that's the week starting Monday, the 8th of April 2019. So it's a big week this week. We see on Wednesday, for example, Jupiter going retrograde. When Jupiter goes retrograde, Jupiter-related affairs are sort of subject to change. We might sort of have thought we're going to follow a particular course of action or do a certain study or invest in a certain course or make a certain journey, but then we suddenly find ourselves rethinking or being unsure about that course of action, or wanting to give ourselves some more time, wanting to be sure if this really is what we think, if this really is what we want to put our energy and our resources behind. Okay, so there's a sort of everything to do with Jupiter, as I say, study choice, philosophy, religion, moral issues, what we believe in. All of these things we are kind of putting back up for review. We want to rethink it. We want to be sure before we register and commit to that course that it's really the thing that we really want to be doing. We're kind of, it's a little bit of a doubt. There's a little bit of doubt comes in when Jupiter turns retrograde. It also can be pleasurable. It can be a pleasurable time, Jupiter retrograde, in the sense that if you, for example, this is one of the things that I'm planning to do under this Jupiter retrograde, is to read some books that I've bought and that I just haven't had the opportunity to really get stuck into. And I want to do that, so it's like, I'm going to take a couple of days out or plan in to do that. And these are books that are involving astrology and philosophy, and it's really good to create space for things that are going to, shall we say, improve or advance your insights in some way. It's going to make you see things a bit clearer or a bit in a bit more depth. So it's a kind of an interesting period when Jupiter's retrograde. It's I kind of think it's, especially now Jupiter's in Sagittarius, we're going to be looking at the big issues in our life, the real things that we want to feel that is a truth. We're looking for truths in an age really when chaos seems to abound, but it's an interesting retrograde. It's happening on the day as well when Venus conjuncts Neptune, the Sun squares Saturn, and Mercury squares Pluto. So this is amongst that sort of combination of planetary energies, we see Jupiter stepping back. It's interesting because it's the day of a sort of a speed summit in Brussels over Britain's or the UK's exit from the EU. The day after we should crash out, the UK should crash out technically, but it almost feels like Jupiter going retrograde, it's almost like pulling back from the brink, if you like, pulling back, because Sun square Saturn is sort of really saying, the wise old man is saying to this, foolhardy young sort of green sprout of Aries, have you thought about this? Have you thought about the consequences? Have you looked ahead a bit? Saturn slows the Sun in Aries down. I had this kind of vision of myself. How do I see this? And I thought it's like you're driving along. You've got Venus conjunct Neptune. You're going on your dream holiday. The sun is shining. You've got your red convertible. You're going down the motor, and suddenly, something's happened and everything stops, and you sat there for forever. It feels like you can't move on. That's what Saturn does. It says, it's the hare and the tortoise. It says, you want to do this, be disciplined, be structured, get it, sort of get a proper plan in place. And I think, personally, I think the EU will give the UK this extra time. I think that's what Jupiter retrograde suggests. We're going to pull back. And Mercury sextile Pluto is very much, Mercury is a planet that's related to trade. Pluto is always to do with, plutocracy, large sums of money, big interests at stake here. And it's a sort of a sextile, so there is that sense of wanting to meet the other halfway, wanting to give a bit. So that's quite interesting, I think, that energy on Wednesday. Coming into Friday, we have Mercury square Jupiter. Mercury in Pisces. This is the third time Mercury will have squared Jupiter. So Mercury really is tying, as has been actually already since the 19th of February, kind of caught up in the Jupiter-Neptune square, which is one of the main themes of this year. It's very boom or bust, it's all or nothing. It's kind of like quite a gambling sort of feel to Jupiter square Neptune. And certainly what we're seeing in the UK, there is certainly quite some politicians who are wanting us to crash out, you know, wanting Britain to leave without a deal. You know, that's Jupiter Neptune. It's kind of like taking risks. You know, it's like a fantasy, reality kind of collide in a way, certainly with Saturn in Capricorn at the moment. Sextiling Neptune, it's sort of saying all the time, but yes, but what's real? What can we earth? What can we actually give birth to? Because Jupiter Neptune square, it's certainly when we're looking at planets immutable, you know, everything's possible, but it's all up in the air. And with Neptune in the picture, you know, there's delusion, there's disillusion, there's dream, there's that high emotional content, there's the element of the masses involved. And then Jupiter feeds in, it fires it up, it bigs things up. So Mercury's been caught in there, and certainly, you know, debates, talks, discussions, trying to find out the facts, trying to, you know, find out the truth of things is one of the big challenges this year. And I think Saturn in Capricorn is saying, keep it simple, do what you can, take small steps and stay positive. You know, I think that's really important that we stay positive. On Saturday, we get Sun square Pluto. Don't forget, we had on Wednesday Sun square Saturn. Now we have Sun square Pluto. So the Sun is sort of, you know, entering into the Saturn-Pluto zone in a way. You know, sort of already giving us some ideas about how Saturn-Pluto might be panning out, the kinds of forces that can be involved next year when the two planets are conjunct. Sun square Pluto, we have to be careful that we keep our intentions very clear, that we're honest, that we keep everything transparent and above board, because with Sun square Pluto, there is always that risk of things that are hinted at leading a life of their own, you know. Anything that is less than transparent can fester under a Sun Pluto square. And there's always like the misuse of power, manipulation, you know, trying to, you know, get people to do things they might not really want to do, but can't have a feeling they can somehow not get out of doing. You know, there's that pressure cooker sort of feel to Sun square Pluto, which is dodgy as well. So don't get into conflicts with people. Try and avoid that if you can. And then on Sunday, we see Venus trine in the node and Sun trine Jupiter. So there are obstacles on our path this week. There are things that we can encounter that will lead us maybe to have to dig deep into ourselves or to take time out or go slower. But we have to be transparent, we have to be open, we have to be trusting in our own ability to find the right course for us. But especially while we have such a lot of mutable, a lot of planets in Pisces at the moment, you know, as well. So that Jupiter retrograde in Sag, I think in many ways we need to keep our options open. I don't think we should commit to too much quite yet. And yet we should be positive, explore the options and look at what's available to us, and maybe just put off making a decision just yet. Okay, thank you for listening. Thank you. Bye.